Hey guys, this is Caspy with Tape, and today you join me for episode 20 of Road to Colonisation, and we start, well, not arriving at Dres, because we technically did that last time, but going down to get into orbit of Dres. So, we've got our maneuver laid in, we'll burn off all of the fuel from this transfer stage, and a little bit from the lander, and hopefully the lander will still have enough fuel to land, because, well, that's quite important. Anyway, as we approach, Dres lights up for some reason. I guess it's maybe just lighting up with happiness that someone finally visited it, because Dres sucks. Look how boring this is. It's just the moon, basically, but further away and a little blander. It's kind of worse than Ike, and Ike's, only okay. And I'm pretty sure we faked the Ike landings by just landing on the moon. So who knows? Maybe this is Dres, maybe it's just the moon. Maybe I'm lying to you. Who knows? Anyway, enough rampant speculation about fake landings. We're almost in orbit, getting very close to the surface to maximize the O-berth effect, and the orbit wraps around almost, and then the engine burns out, but we fire up the other one, and we pull ourselves into orbit right there. It always bends way more than I think it will. And there we go, orbit, and then bring it down so that it's like kind of sub half a day. And there we go. Let's start taking some science, sending it back. We got a world first. We're getting into orbit of Dres, although I guess it's a Dres first. But you don't want to put Dres on an award. It just makes people not want it. I don't know what my vindictive hatred of Dres comes from, but it's just, there's so many cool planets, and I'm at Dres right now. But anyway, we're getting our science reports now. Not that we really need them. We've completed the tech tree. I didn't explicitly mention that, but the tech tree is done now. We haven't bought everything, but the science is good. But we do get a little bit of money kickback from science now that I set up that policy. I should invest more in that policy so we get more money from science. But hey, it's still nice to get science, it's part of the game. Anyway, now we're just going to go up to apoapsis and do a little prograde burn so that we don't ever hit Dres, because, as much as I'm sure the probe wants to kill itself looking at Dres all the time. Fucking hell, why am I so mean to Dres? Anyway, then I detach the lander to hopefully go and land, but it doesn't have enough power enough power generation to keep its antenna going, so this won't go anywhere. So, guess that's Dres done. We're not even going to land, because Dres sucks. But anyway, back on Kerbal, we have more interesting missions to better planets planned, and the fuel shuttle is heading back to the Concordia so that we can fuel it up so it can head to Eve and do glorious things, except probably not land on Eve. We're going to send a probe down to Eve, but we're not going to send Kerbals down to Eve because all of my test vehicles explode. Maybe another time, maybe not. Anyway, we get to experience a nice little solar eclipse in the desert when the moon passes in front. Scatter is cool because it adds the actual solar eclipses on the planet. It's really cool to see. Anyway, we do our first of our two deorbit, not deorbit burns, but like bringing our orbit down. Yeah, but anyway, the first of our two burns to match orbital velocities with the Concordia. We have to do this in twos, of course, because it has a very low thrust-to-weight ratio using nuclear engines to haul all of this mass around. And you can see I'm just using the standard maneuver node trick by holding it in place to see my future orbit, because I can't see my encounter right now. But yeah, it's looking good. We're going to do as much as possible now so that we don't have to slow down too much when we get down to when we come down the second time, although often I do have to do these in threes. Anyway, that looks pretty good to me, so let's warp around the planet and fire up our engines again. However, we do go past our encounter because we couldn't slow down in time while keeping an accurate encounter. So yeah, anyway, I do get an encounter around the other side of the planet. You'll be able to see that when I do my little maneuver node thing. And yeah, so we warp around and we reach the Concordia. Hello, Concordia, we have much fuel for you because you have places to be going. And then we dock to the adapter we brought up last time, and we're going to... it shakes around a lot. It's docking two pretty massive ships. This is almost as big as the Concordia, actually. But now we're going to start pumping our fuel around. We're going to start putting some in the outside tanks of the shuttle so that it has fuel to return to Minmus. And then eventually we'll put the rest of it into the Concordia. As you see here, draining the rest of the fuel. We still have 6 tanks worth of fuel to fill up, so we'll do that. But yeah, generally pretty good. We brought down a lot of fuel. Anyway, now we have some launches to do, because we have to prepare this vehicle. It was equipped with fairly big landers for its Duna mission, because obviously you got to land on Duna, and you might as well bring the same lander to land on Ike, because, you know, Ike's a fairly big-ish moon. But since we're only going to be landing on Gilly and dropping a probe into the atmosphere, we're going to need some totally new equipment, because Gilly has a very low gravity. We don't want a big engine there, and we just obviously need a probe for the dropping a probe into Eve. And yeah, we've actually been taken on a contract to test the small version of the nuclear engine on Gilly. So we're going to do that. Our lander has the very small nuclear engine, which probably will provide too much thrust to land on Gilly very easily. But yeah. And then we did a couple of fairings. I used clamshell, but with not enough force, so one hangs around for a while. But yeah, you can see the probe on top and the lander down below. The lander's fuel's actually on top of the command pod, because it makes it easier to get out, and the fuel does cross-feed through the command pod into the little engine. Get a pretty good look at it there. It looks really janky, but I kind of like it, because it doesn't really look like my standard-looking landers. So, yeah, that will be going and landing on Gilly, completing a contract. We have quite a few contracts for Eve, actually. Obviously, they're testing the motor on Gilly, orbiting Eve, and science data from the surface of Eve, which we've had for a very long time. And haven't completed. You saw just there we actually lost the first stage. We didn't get into orbit quickly enough, and we're not going to be able to recover that first stage. So that's a pretty serious loss for money, but it's fine. We do have about 2 million funds. So anyway, we've got our encounter now. We arrive at the vehicle and slow down and prepare to dock our payload. I'm just going to put them both on this one docking port, because we're going to need the other one for fueling and things like that, so we'll rearrange this later. I've realised I've left another science package there, which really shouldn't be there. That was from the Duna mission. Anyway, now we need to return the second stage of the rocket, hopefully, because the first stage just sort of exploded. So we do our deorbit burn, and then we re-enter, and then we land somewhere in the mountains. Behind the KSC. And then it's time for another launch. So yes, now we're launching a Pulsar X, and on top of it is, I believe, a fueling vehicle with some monopropellant and some liquid fuel to fill up the Concordia, because it's not yet done, because it does take quite a lot of fuel. I am not looking forward to having to refuel the Canterbury when it comes back, because it's much bigger than the Concordia. So, yeah, that'll be fun. Maybe I'll just land it on Duna and have it as a monument, because it can land on Duna, although... yeah, it totally can. Anyway, enough speculating about what I might do with the Canterbury. Maybe it'll just be destroyed by a stealth ship. If you've seen The Expanse, you'll know what I'm talking about. But anyway, back in the Kerbal world, not the Netflix world, we're just almost in orbit. Deploy the fairings. I didn't go for clamshells this time after the almost fiasco that happened before. And we're going to push on into orbit. I do very much love this Pulsar X, because it's a single stage at orbit, which means I don't have to be really stressed while getting the second stage into orbit, hopefully quick enough to catch the first stage. Although it is always cool to see those landings, but it doesn't work so well on the smaller rockets. And now we decouple our payload. You can see it's just a bunch of liquid fuel and a little propulsion stage below it. We do a quick little fine-tune, and gonna have ourselves a nice encounter with the Concordia, and then we need to slow down using pretty much all of the fuel in this little propulsion stage, and using the RCS as well. Luckily with MechJeb on, when you throttle up, it also throttles up the RCS, which is pretty cool. I think if you tell it to. So yeah, anyway, we burn out all of that fuel, ditch it, and then... wait, oh, it is still attached because it has some RCS thrusters on it. We don't ditch it. And then we arrive at the Concordia, just using RCS now. It's a pretty big burn to meet the Concordia, because it's very inclined, actually. It's about 150 meters per second of delta V, so yeah. But anyway, we get docked on, and now we've just got to pump the rest of the fuel into the spacecraft. Start with the top tanks, and there it goes. And a little later, when we pump out pretty much the last of the fuel into the tanks, the Concordia is all fueled up. So now I'm going to pump some monopropellant into the monopropellant tanks as seems appropriate, and yes, and then also put some monopropellant into the fuel shuttle, because I always forget to fuel it up. And now we need to bring back that that rocket that brought the fuel shuttle, not the fuel shuttle, the fuel tanks up. And yes, it has a bit of a re-entry, and then it's looking like we're going to get pretty close to the KFC. So I fire up the engines to try and pinpoint it a little better, and this actually turns out to be my most accurate landing ever. You can see we're going to land right in the KFC. It would have been so cool if I'd landed on the launch pad, but it was not to be, and we landed just kind of in line with the VAB, which was awesome. That's my closest landing yet. We do lose the main engine, but the outer engines do survive, and we get most of the money back. So I was very happy with that. And now that we're all fueled up, everything is all full of fuel, we're going to send this on its way, send it back to Kerbal. Now, this is obviously just kind of a mock-up vehicle, not one of my standard fueling vehicles, so hopefully it will survive. I didn't include a heat shield, but we'll see. So yes, we're just going to use RCS to deorbit since we used all of our liquid fuel oxidizer. I think, yeah, we did pump out all of our liquid fuel. I did have some excess liquid fuel in this, but I just put it in the fuel shuttle. I guess I did that off camera. Anyway, we're just going to ditch that little propulsion stage now because we don't need it, and we're going to re-enter. We start to tip, but the RCS soon brings that under control, and there we go. We should deorbit fairly safely now. Yes, very successful mission. The Concordia is all full of fuel and monopropellant now, and it should be ready to go once it's full of crew and life support. Now we're just about to land, and I noticed the Distant Object Enhancement mod is showing me a bunch of planets. You can see we've got Eve at the bottom, Jewel just above the moon, Duna just above that, and you can actually, if you look closely and in high resolution, you can actually see some satellites moving around. It was really cool to see that, actually. Anyway, I think the final launch of today is just some life support. Well, some life support and some... yeah, just a big life support thing, and a little bit of RCS and things, and a little bit of fuel, because I need to move that lander on the front of the Concordia, and I didn't bring up liquid fuel oxidizer in the last launch. So yeah, this is just the last set of things I need. It also has some big solar panels, so I can nip one of them off and replace the one that is broken on the Concordia. And yeah, all is good. So we are almost ready to go. We just have to send crew up now and get going, and also move the fuel shuttle and lander off it and rearrange a few things, but then we're ready to go. So we detach the fairings. The clamshells work this time because I upped the decouple force, and you can see it's just a little spacecraft with a bunch of life support, far too much just in case I miscounted. And yeah, some fuel and a little bit of RCS, and yeah, this will just get it all ready. It is pretty hard kind of maintaining an interplanetary spacecraft. It has taken, I think, including crew, probably 7 launches and a trip to Minmus to just get it ready for its new mission, which, yeah, much less than it would be if I was launching a new spacecraft, but still, it is hard. No matter what you do, it's still going to be a lot of work to get one of these vehicles prepared for a mission, especially when it's very different from its previous mission, because I have to totally replace the external hardware. I can't use the same landers for Eve and Gilly as I can for Duna and Dres, Duna and Ike even. I get them confused because they both suck. And yeah. Anyway, though, this is getting close now, and you can see we're just got to do our burn. Concordia is coming up quickly, so we throttle up, burn off all of the velocity. This is all at 4 times time accelerate, by the way. It's not really this quick, but yeah. And then start moving towards the Concordia and arrive and get docked, and all will be well. Yeah, you can see the lander on the front. That needs to be moved because I don't want to be hauling that around for no reason. And yes, just docking rather gently. I like to do my dockings very serenely, just to not knock the spacecraft too much. It does twist a bunch though and almost falls off, but it does dock eventually. And then we're going to start filling the tanks with life support, with food, water, and oxygen. Everything a Kerbal needs. Apparently they don't need space, but I always add a little extra space in my spacecraft just to, you know, make it a little more realistic. I think there is a mod for that now, actually, that if you don't have enough space, the Kerbal stop doing what you tell them to. But yeah. Anyway, so that is totally full up now, and I'm also going to take this opportunity to fill up the fuel shuttle with life support. And yeah. So this has multifold purposes, and also there's a bunch of little places like cockpits where we also need to put life support, so I'll fill them up as well, even though I'm filling up the lander that isn't coming with us. But it will be kept in space, so yeah. And now we're just going to get our engineer out of the fuel shuttle to go and replace that solar panel. I try and pull the old little thing off, but it seems to think it's the root part, so I'd have to disassemble the whole spacecraft, and I wasn't really feeling like doing that, so I just put the other solar panel over it, and you can't tell the difference. And we'll deploy it, and finally it has its 4 solar panels again. I'm so annoyed I broke that for the whole Duna mission. But yeah, the lander as well is missing a solar panel. There is quite a bit of wear and tear, especially to solar panels that goes into missions, even in Kerbal Space Program. And it's nice to see that kind of stuff, see a bit of a battered spacecraft and get to repair it with Kerbal Attachment System. But now, so that these Kerbals aren't sucking up the life support on the Concordia, we're going to send this into a slightly different orbit, just so that so that they'll be safe from hitting the spacecraft, and we'll just be away from it, and they'll be resuming normal duties after the Concordia has left. So yeah, you can just see we're doing a bit of a burn and things to just move out of the way. We'll put an alarm so I don't forget about it, and all will be well. And now we just need to send back this little fueling vehicle, this little life support vehicle with its single solar panel now, which I think gets burned off in re-entry. But yes, we are coming to the end of the episode now. We'll just watch this enter as I do my outro. But yeah, it's been a bit of a shorter one. I've just been preparing things. This does take a long time to produce. I mean, I think this was about 2.5 hours of footage, compressed into like 15 minutes because it's mostly just launches. But next time we will be leaving for Eve, and it will be rather awesome. So I hope you will come back for that, and I hope you have enjoyed this. But if you want to go check out a couple more videos, there's my finale to Prison Architect. There's also my most recent episode of City Skylines. There's also links to my Twitter, Twitch, and Patreon in the description if you're interested. But as always, I hope you've enjoyed this. This has been Kerbal with Tape. I will see you next time.